And then as we go down, the Florida Medallion scholars, which otherwise known as FMS, is 75% of tuition and fees. And then we go down to the Gold Seal Vocational, which is going to be more of a certificate program for the applied technology, as you can see there. As we keep going, we will talk about how to earn each of these. So the Florida Academic Scholars, the one that was 100% of the tuition, will have the most difficult requirements to meet. And those would be a 3.5 weighted GPA, otherwise known as HPA for our purposes, and they only take the core classes. The core classes are going to be English, math, science, social studies, 2 years of a foreign language. So notice the 2 years of the same foreign language. So those 2 credits, they do not have to be the same year necessarily, or subsequent years. So say freshman year and sophomore year, but they need to be 2 consecutive levels. So for instance, if we're picking on Spanish, we would have Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. So they don't have to be taken consecutive school years, but consecutive levels. Then there's a community service component. They will need 100 hours of community service. And then they will also need to acquire the test scores. ACT or SAT will both work. They don't need both. And again, either will work. For the SAT, they will need a composite score of a 1330 and then ACT 29. And again, that's for the Florida Academic Scholars, which is the 100%. So as we move down to the Florida Medallion Scholars, which is 75%, we will notice that the requirements lessen just a little bit. So we have a 3.0 weighted GPA, again, when just the core classes, 2 credits of the same foreign language, that remains the same. The community service drops 25%, so it goes down to 75 community service hours. And also the test scores drop just a bit to a 1210 or a 25. And then finally, we have our Florida Gold Seal Vocational Scholars Award. This maintains the same GPA as the Medallion at a 3.0 weighted. They will have to take 3 sequential courses that are in their vocation. So for instance, the digital video technology, the early childhood digital design. And keep in mind 3 sequential courses. So if they were in early childhood, that would be early childhood 1, 2, and 3. Same thing with the digital video technology or the digital design. There's also a community service component, which is 30 hours, and then the test scores, which they're a little bit more specific about how they want the test scores. And what you will notice here with the SAT, they have scores that are broken down with their sub scores. So, and not to get into a different rabbit hole, but the way that the SAT works is you're normally going to see gross numbers, such as like the 1330 that was mentioned earlier. That is a total score. Those scores will be broke down into sections, both an English section and a math section. So in the case of a 1330, maybe broken down into like a 730 in one and a 600 in others. And that is broke down even further into sub-scores. So what you will see here on this slide, that is why the SAT is reflecting a 24, a 25, and a 24 respectively, because those are sub-scores, not to confuse you as to why those scores are so low in comparison to what you're accustomed to seeing. And then the ACT, like normal, you will have your individual scores. It's not a composite. They want individual 17 in English, 19 in reading, and math. Okay. And then there are other ways to earn bright futures. So if the processes seem to be a little daunting, then there are, I guess we can say that this is the new front door or side door or back door to also getting the Bright Future Scholarship. So we offer an ACE curriculum. And so you may be familiar with hearing, about ACE General Paper, ACE Global Perspectives, some of this ACE talk, or some people will call it AICE. That's the way they'll refer to it as. But it is ACE. So we offer a very interesting program, which is the ACE curriculum. So in essence, what this is, and you can read it on here for yourselves, mainly a student has to take 7 classes, a minimum of 7 classes. And those classes must be grouped with what you see here on the front, with a core class, ACE Global Perspectives, group 1, 2, 3, and optionally 4. So ultimately, as you see at the very top, you need 14 ACE credits. Each ACE class is worth 2 credits. 1, passing the class. So that will earn them, if they take 7 ACE classes and they pass all 7, that is 7 of the 14 points. Half the battle is accomplished. The other half is passing the associated exam. That exam will give you the other point. So successful completion of 7 classes falling in the appropriate categories will award a student an ACE curriculum diploma. That must occur in the first 3 years that they take these courses. So first ACE class happens freshman year. So we have freshman year, sophomore year, junior year to accomplish the ACE curriculum. If a student is interested in the ACE curriculum, we can get them started right away. And as long as successful completion, there you have it. That is your new front door, side door, back door to earning the 100% Bright Futures Scholarship. Just to go into it a little bit, just ever so quickly, the ACE Global Perspectives is a class that students will typically take 10th grade year. As far as their math and sciences go, that can be spread out normally either sophomore or junior year. Your language requirement will start sophomore year, and then pretty much everything else is grouped into the arts and humanities. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. We do have a wide variety of courses for students to take as far as the ACE curriculum is concerned. Okay, and there is a link embedded here for anyone who wants more detail regarding the Bright Futures. It's a wonderful, wonderful process, and just a lot of money that's there for students who have earned their way through. Okay, so now you want to know how to apply. So as a senior, you will apply through the FFAA. It opens on October 1st. Their senior year, the same time that FAFSA opens, but that's, again, a separate conversation. They only need to apply one time. The application is pretty quick. In about 10 minutes, you could get through the application. What is also nice about the Bright Futures application is it is not just for the Bright Futures. There are about 15 other scholarships associated with the FFAA, and they will automatically be considered for those scholarships as well. So it's kind of one-stop shopping. They go in, they apply with the intention of getting Bright Futures. But with that being said, they are also considered for about 15 other scholarships. And I know this may be a little ahead of time, but what I will say is that I recommend that a student applies regardless of whether they have the marks or not. The reason that I say that is because students are not evaluated until the year is concluded. So they have all of their senior year to get all of these requirements met. With that being said, I always encourage students to apply whether they have the requirements at that moment or not, and then work through it for the whole senior year and try to acquire it. So when they are evaluated at the end of the year, hopefully they have met all of those requirements at that point. So here is also the website to apply, which is the floridastudentfinancialaid.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Keller.
You're very welcome.
Next, we're going to talk a little briefly about the community service, and we have Mrs. Richards to discuss.
Good morning, everybody. I get to talk about community service this morning, a little bit about what is it, how many hours do you need, etc. So community service is defined as non-paid volunteer work with a nonprofit agency. Okay, that's pretty important that you know that it's for a nonprofit agency. When can students start earning their community service hours? They can start accumulating their hours as early as the summer prior to their freshman year of high school. So right after 8th grade, they can start those hours. Students are required to earn a minimum of 20 community service hours in order to graduate from high school. But as you heard Dr. Keller say, with bright futures, depending on the level, you need 75 or 100, and many other scholarships may require more than 20 as well. So we encourage students to begin working on these as early as possible and get them turned in by their junior year. That way they're not scrambling around senior year when they're trying to do a lot of other things like apply for college. So the purpose of community service hours, the reason that it is required to graduate, is for students to engage in activities that help them develop an appreciation for serving their school and or their community. There is a link on this slide. It goes directly to our webpage for community service, and the form that we have a picture of here on the slide is at that link. So that's where you can find the form, because after the students complete their community service hours, it needs to be logged on this form, and then this form gets emailed to Mara Gorin at palmbeachschools.org, and her information is on that form, so you don't have to remember that or anything like that. But everything this year is being done electronically, so no forms are being dropped off in the front office. They just get emailed to Miss Gorin. For more information, you can go to the website. On the website, there's some activities that are not considered community service hours, and then there's lots of examples of what is considered community service hours. And there's also links to different types of community service hours and different organizations that are offering it. So if you have any questions, check out the website. And if you need to email, your counselor or your student's counselor, feel free to do that as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Richards. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to review some of your questions. I know some of you wrote some questions that have already been answered. We have one that just came in. It says, do you happen to know if a student has Florida prepaid and tuition will already be saved for, and they earn either 100% Bright Futures or ACE diploma, can Florida prepaid be used for room and board? Dr. Keller, can I throw this question to you?
You can. It really depends on the university itself. But oftentimes, if that is not a possibility, what will happen is that the contributions towards tuition will be taken from Florida prepaid. At that point, Bright Futures will cut a check. So that check will be sent to the parents, and at that point, the parent can use that for whatever purpose they want, including room and board at that point.
Awesome. Okay, so it's Bright Futures that would cut the check. Okay. Great.
Yes.
Welcome. We did have some other questions. It looks like they've all been answered. Should I review them out loud? Would that be helpful to any parents? Or no, they've already been answered. And we are posting all of our questions and answers. So if you're watching this recording, you can view the question and answers from the chat bar in that document. No problem. Well, that one was a quick one, but we appreciate everyone for coming. We hope that we've helped you and you've gained some knowledge about Bright Futures. If you have any other questions, feel free to type it in the chat bar or even unmute yourself. There's not a ton of us in here. You could unmute yourself if you'd like. Feel free to ask.
And before people leave, and again, it's me. So This is not the only scholarship that is available. We are very diligent as a team about, informing students about scholarships. There are many third-party scholarships out there, to the point where students, the last thing that a student really needs to be concerned with is money of any sorts. There are a variety of reasons why students can, like win, I guess, if you will, scholarships. I mean, from gender to height to colored eyes to any interest of sorts. So it's very important that they really start looking for scholarships. They can start doing them at any age, to be quite honest. The scholarships are available for 9th graders through 12th graders, although most of the time it is talked about that 12th graders are the ones who get all of the love, and that's where like everything starts. But really and truly, they can look at any time. I do have a living document that happens every single year where we post all of the scholarships that are given to us specifically. Plus, I put a lot of websites on there so that you can start to educate yourself and your student can start to populate their own collection of scholarships at this point. I will put it in the link in the chat bar right now so that you can peruse through it, although you may not be interested in looking for scholarships at this moment in time, but it just kind of lets you look to see what would be available for you in the future. And if you care to start looking around, then by all means, please do so. I would encourage it. So just some final words on the money side of things, because I always say that college is two-pronged attack. The first battle is getting in, the second battle is paying for it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Keller. That'll be really helpful. And I'll make sure to post that scholarship link too in our questions and answers. Anybody have any other questions about Bright Futures or maybe about scholarships? I see Miss Aaliyah.
No, I have a question, but it's about college stuff. So I don't know if everyone else wants to hear or not.
I think you should go for it. Ask
Okay,
away.
it's just two simple questions. We're going through the process of filling out the Common App right now, and part of it is getting your teachers' letters of recommendations clipped to the Common App. And my question is, if a student is applying to like multiple colleges, do the teachers have to clip on to every single one, or do they just clip on once and they go to all the colleges that my son has invited them?
Okay, so so what would happen is he is going to go to each individual school through the Common App, which it sounds like he has already done, and he will assign the teachers per per school. So say he has 10 teachers that he has invited, and they all wrote a letter of recommendation for him. Excuse me. At that point, he would go to each of the individual schools and he would assign the teachers for those schools. He could assign the same teacher to every single school if he cares to, or he can mix and match. So at that point, that one letter that teacher uploaded will be assigned to those schools. So it is important that they are not listing a school by name unless he is only adding them to that specific school.
Okay. Okay, then just one more. Thank you. That helps a lot. And then one more simple question. We're also doing the transcripts right now. And are most colleges then accepting electronic transcripts, and that's the way to go?
In most cases, and if any school that is on the Common App, yes, they will all receive an electronic version. There are a couple of schools that are a little old school in their practices and remain staunch about receiving like a paper transcript, but most schools are electronic these days. It's just faster submission, better bookkeeping. So a lot of reasons as to why.
So then we would see that on the specific college website, what the requirements are. But I think all of them had allowed the Common App. So if they allow the Common App, we should be good.
Correct. If they all populate on the Common App, then that is fine. One upload of his transcript to the Common App will be sufficient.
So he only pays the fee once? He doesn't pay it for each college?
One time he could put 400 schools on his Common App. As long, I mean, that's going to be a lot of work for him. But if at that point, just one upload, because that one electronic transcript is attached to his application.
So he doesn't have to tag it for each school name.
Nope.
It'll cool. All right, thanks a million. That helps.
You're welcome.
Awesome, good. I'm glad you asked, because sometimes if one person has a question, like we tell students, it might help another person. So I appreciate you asking. Does anybody have any other questions? If not, you can feel free to log out if you'd like to stay on. I know some of the school counselors and Dr. Keller and I will be staying on here for a little while to answer any questions. That was a request by parents. Oh, do you have a question? I think somebody had one. Ms. Duncan? Possibly you have a question? But we will stay on, so if you want to chat with us, feel free. Don't be shy to ask right now if you'd like. I have a feeling some people may be staying on just to see what other people ask too. Maybe it would be helpful. And of course, like I mentioned, this recording will be on our website. If you can't remember maybe something we said, or a friend is asking what was talked about, please direct them. It's under school info, school counseling services, and then under coffee with the counselors. We have one each month. We started in October, so this is our third one. And in the survey that I'll send out, please make sure I send it to all families. So please make sure you fill it out. I'm asking, hey, what do you want to hear about next? Our next coffee with the counselors is January 8th at 8 a.m. We'd love to have you live. If you can't make it, we'll post the recording for that one as well. And the topic will be decided. I'll talk to our other school counselors, see what they think, and see what parents write on the survey.
If you can hold up just a second, I'm just trying to read the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thanks.
I do keep in mind, I do post all those questions in the chat bar. I've been copy pasting them and the answers onto a separate document that I post on that website too. So we have like 3 links for each coffee talk. We have the presentation, we have the recording, and we have the questions from the chat bar. So if you ever need to refer to them or have the link and you forgot it or misplaced it, then you can always access it up there as well. And all the previous recordings, I see that was a question, all the previous recordings are on our website. If you go on to Spanish River's website, click on school info, click on school counseling services, and then there's a tab for coffee with the counselors, and you'll see that each one is up there. I'm going to see if I can kind of just pull that up on my screen here, because I think everybody can still see. Sorry, my computer's really slow. So I'll go through this. If you want to stay on and view it, feel free. If you want to log out, don't hesitate to log out of here, and have a happy Friday. We do appreciate you guys coming on live. It's nice to be able to kind of chat with parents live as well. So here's our school website, if you are still on here and curious. So you would go to school info. Hopefully your computer is not as slow as mine. Feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm kind of just hanging on here in case anybody has questions. So feel free to interrupt me now. School counseling services right here. And we have a couple different things here. And college counseling from Dr. Keller. We have coffee with the counselors. Click on
Nice,
coffee
thank
with
you.
the counselors. Yeah, no problem. And then you'll see, oh, sorry, I went to college counseling.
Previously, you had put out, I think, an email with a link to the PowerPoint at least, and I had read that when I couldn't make the meeting, so I appreciated that very much.
Okay, yeah. So when I send out the survey, I try to send out, I'll make sure to send out the presentation and the recording. The recording takes a couple minutes to upload, but I'll do that because that'll be nice. Maybe parents will click on it right there. But then they're all here. So we had October 9th, we had high school ABCs where we kind of tried to review different vocabulary alphabetically that would be pertinent to high school. And then we talked about college and career readiness and dual enrollment information last month, and now this month with our Bright Futures. And then, yeah, each topic we kind of try to determine based on what parents ask for, based on what knowledge we feel would be helpful to students and families. So again, thank you so much for coming. Feel free to log out. Feel free to ask a question if you have something. I am still recording. If you'd prefer me to turn the recording off and ask your question, I can do that too. So just let me know.
All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys. I like to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you. And
Have a
thanks
great
for your
weekend.
time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Have a good weekend. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.